Hello, my name is Juliet Gensler, and this is my multimedia presentation. One quote that's kind of influenced me as a person is something that my uncle told me. I was telling him a story, and I can't remember what I was telling him, but I remember that I said, "Oh, it was super awkward." And he looked me dead in the face, and he was like, "A situation is only as awkward as you make it." And I think that's kind of the way that's influenced me, is it's kind of opened my eyes to your attitude actually does have a huge impact on how you go about encounters. So if you go into something thinking, "Oh, this is awful," yeah, it's actually going to feel awful and you're probably not going to have a very good time. But if you go into it like, "Oh, this could be fun," I know I don't right now I don't think it's great, but if I go into it thinking so negatively like that, it's probably going to not be a very positive situation. One success that I had this year would have to be my tennis season. I lost one time in season, and so that was pretty good. And so for in season, I was a singles player, and for postseason, which would be things like playoffs and all of that. But for tennis, playoffs it's called conference, and so all the teams in your conference get together. And so me and my partner had to face all the doubles teams in conference, or the best doubles teams in conference. And we came out in fourth, which earned us a spot in districts, which is pretty cool. And making it to districts, we went all Wesco. And we did a lot better than I had ever imagined. So that was a huge success. It was actually probably one of the proudest moments that I had in my life. But one struggle would have to be getting to class. I developed a bad habit of not going to class, and that is actually super hard to break once you get yourself into it. It's better now, but it is still something that I'm struggling with. Although I have improved, it is still something that I have to battle with every morning I wake up. Influences on my life. My grandpa's a huge influence on my life. He worked really hard, really, really hard. He came over here from Europe, from Poland, and had to work his entire life to give his family the life that he thought that they deserved. And he is still to this day working, and so that's kind of something that I've seen, and it's been a huge influence on my life. I got into some bad things, and I would think to myself, he didn't work this hard for me to be doing this. He didn't work this hard for me to be hanging out with the people that I'm hanging out with. And so that's kind of helped me make better decisions than I was making. Friendship-wise, one huge influence on my life was my friend Matt. As I said, I was getting into some things that I shouldn't have been getting into earlier this year, and I got myself a bad reputation. Super bad. Kids weren't very nice. They were saying kind of bad things about me. So, I wasn't in, the best place, but my friend Matt, always 100%, he never treated me any differently than he did when we were freshmen, and I met him. So, he was always super supportive of anything that I did, and understanding of decisions that I would make, and that was something that I needed, something stable like that. Some hobbies of mine, I would think that anything sporty, athletics wise, would be a hobby of mine. I grew up in a family where sports are a pretty big deal. My brother always played sports. My dad would coach. All my uncles and aunts, they all did sports. So I grew up in that kind of environment, and I think it gave me a couple of the traits. I'm super, super competitive. Super competitive, and I definitely got that from growing up in that kind of environment. And I think that it helps me, though, because not only in sports but in school, I have to be the best. I guess I'm not happy if I'm not the best. I want to be the best in everything that I do. A skill of mine would have to be that I'm a super personable person. I like to talk, and I like to talk to people. So I think that's helped me in ways that it helped me get my job, which was a super big deal. I worked there for a year, and I think that trait actually helped me advance in that job. So get me promotions or advances, raises that I wouldn't have gotten if I wasn't as charismatic. Because I worked at Jimmy John's, and a lot of how things are run there are how you interact with the customers and stuff like that. And I don't think I would have done as good if I wasn't so bubbly. My one thing that I value the most would have to be my family. I have a huge, huge family. My grandma had 5 kids, and they're all married, and once my mom has her baby next month, we'll have 12 cousins, and then that's just on my mom's side, and I have cousins on my dad's side, and so I have a huge family, and my family's a huge part of my life. They're probably the biggest part of my life, and in decision making, I always have to think, like, oh, like, what are they thinking? Like, I wanted to travel after high school, but I was like, no, I have to stay. Like, my little sister is going to be born, I have to stay for her, because family is the most important thing to me. So, out of this year, I put on my senior seminar project that I wanted to become a physical therapist by the time I was 25. And after going through my project, I realized that that's probably not going to happen. It's a lot more schooling than I originally thought, and it's a lot more, like, work. That sounds kind of bad, but it is. And so one way to go about becoming a physical therapist that I found through this project would be to get my certificate in assisting a physical therapist, and then to work with that for a little bit. And then that way I could kind of test the waters into physical therapy and just kind of see how much I liked it. And if I did like it as much as I thought I did, then I could pursue getting my degree and becoming a physical therapist myself and not just an assistant. I think that's good for me, because that way I can kind of like go through my life and kind of find myself first before I make any huge career decisions. Because I have commitment issues, so right now I'm having trouble committing to something that costs that much schooling. Like, that would be something that I would have to dedicate my life to, and I'm not ready to make that decision. So I think that this project definitely helped me find that out. So, this was my multimedia presentation. This year was a different year. This was probably my toughest year, not only academically, but, like, as far as social-wise and learning. Like, this was a very educational year for me, and although it was rough and it did have its downs, I made some bad decisions and I learned from them, and I don't think I'd have it any other way, because I think this has kind of set the path for me. It helped. I got my experimenting out of the way, and now I realize what I need to do to become who I want to become, and it's definitely paved my path as a person, and I think that is something that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else, and I'm super glad that it actually did happen. It was bad, but it helped me, and I wouldn't have it any other way.